If you've been doing any kind of work on your marriage, listening to podcasts, reading books, watching videos, going to any kind of counseling or coaching, you've probably heard some version of this. Your wife needs to feel safe enough to tell you the truth about how she's feeling, about how she's experienced you, about the ways she's been hurt, let down, and the places where trust was broken. Maybe even whether she still wants to be in this marriage. And you know they're right. That conversation has to happen at some point. For your marriage to actually heal, she has to be able to say the hard thing, and you have to be able to hear it. But here's where it gets complicated. If you've tried to have that conversation before, or even the thought of having it makes your stomach tighten, you know that it's easier said than done. You start thinking about how terrible a husband you've been, how much damage you've done, how you don't even know where to start. Maybe it goes the other direction. You start thinking all the ways in where she's blowing this out of proportion or it's not really true. Either way, your body is already reacting before the conversation even starts. And maybe you've gone ahead and asked anyway. You said something like, "How are you feeling? How are you feeling about us? Tell me, I want to understand." Because that's what you've been told you're supposed to do. And one of two things happen. She told you she doesn't feel safe talking to you about it, that she's tried before and it didn't go well and she's not ready to try again. And the hard part is she's right. But now you feel stuck. You don't know what to do with that. Or she told you, she let it out, and you didn't handle it the way you wanted to. Your body tensed up, your eyes went to the floor, you went quiet, or you pushed back, or you started explaining, and by the time the conversation was over, she had more evidence that her feelings aren't safe with you. If any of that sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Today, we're talking about what's actually happening in those moments, why you keep trying to have the conversation, and why it keeps going sideways. We're going to look at why this question is so important, but why so many men are actually looking for the wrong answer, and the two ways men get this moment wrong. Plus, we're going to talk about what's happening in your body that you might not realize and what it actually takes to be ready for the hardest conversation in your marriage. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to tell the difference between wanting to have the conversation and actually being ready for it, and what to do first if you're not there yet. Stick around. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome to Better Husband, the podcast that helps you answer the question, how can I be a better husband? I'm Angelo Santiago, a men's marriage and relationship coach, and every week I bring you practical insights to help you strengthen your marriage and become the best husband you can be. Now, a while back, I had my first one-on-one coaching call with a man inside of Better Husband Academy. He'd already been in the program for about a month, showing up to group calls, sharing in the community, really engaged, but he was running into a problem he couldn't get past, and our onboarding call is where we were able to get into it together. He told me about his marriage. He'd been with his wife for over a decade, 2 kids, and things had gotten bad. Not overnight, over years. And as things fell apart, he tried to talk to her openly, take ownership of his part, and bring them closer together as he worked through his own issues. But the communication kept breaking down. He kept trying to figure out what was going on with him and how to show up better, but he kept running into the same wall when it came to really connecting with her and letting her be honest about what she saw was wrong in their marriage. It came to a point where she told him very clearly, "When it comes to my feelings and my emotions, you're constantly in self-preservation mode." When he told me that on the call, I could see it all land in his body language. How hard it was for him to share that. Hearing himself say the words out loud brought it all back. I asked him what happens when she tries to tell him how she feels, what actually happens in his body, in the room. He was honest. He said, "Well, I'll either get defensive and deflect and fight her about how she's feeling, or I shame spiral, and neither one of those things have allowed me to actually listen to her and make her feel heard." 2 moves, both wrong, and he could see it clearly. When he defends, he's fighting her version of the truth, correcting her interpretation, explaining his intent. From her side, it means her experience doesn't count. His version matters more. And when he collapses, the conversation flips. Now she has to manage his shame instead of finishing her sentence. He goes from being the listener to being the one who needs reassuring. Either way, she's out of the conversation. And here's the part that made it real for me. Midway through our call, not a fight with his wife, just a coaching conversation with me, I asked him how his body was doing. He said, "I'm anxious. I'm really anxious. Whenever I talk about the things I've done in my marriage, it's hard. I haven't accepted it. It's like I'm still in disbelief that this is the man I've been." Just talking about it on a coaching call with someone who wasn't going to judge him, and his body was flooded. I said to him, "If every time you even talk about this, you feel this much anxiety, then when your wife brings it up, the person who actually lived through it, it's not going to be the same. it's going to be amplified because now it's not just your own voice reminding you, it's someone outside of you confirming the things you already believe about yourself. That's when I told him, you have to stop asking her how she's feeling. Not forever, not because her feelings don't matter. They do matter more than almost anything else in this process. But right now, she doesn't feel safe telling you the truth. Every time you ask, you're poking at a wound she's not ready to open again. And even if she does tell you, you're not prepared to handle it. If she opens up and you collapse, it's one more piece of evidence that her feelings aren't safe with you. If you're not ready to hear what she has to say, you can't ask. What he shared with me and what he was going through in front of me right there in the moment was something I could completely relate to. I can recall all the times that I knew my wife wanted to open up to me. I knew there was a deeper emotional hurt within her, and I knew that part of the healing of our marriage was going to require me to hear it, listen to it, and own it. Yet every time she would start, I could feel myself tightening up, shutting down, wanting to run. Those moments didn't help anything and likely made the whole process for us a lot harder. So when this man sat across from me on that call and described the same pattern, the defending, the collapsing, the wanting to hear it but not being able to stay in the room for it, I didn't have to guess what it felt like. I'd lived it. Before I move on, I want to take a moment to thank him. When we first started working together, I told him everything we discuss is confidential. I wouldn't share any of it. And he told me, because this is the kind of man he's becoming, that he's working on being more open and honest. And if his story can help even one other man, he's happy for me to share it. His story has already helped men inside the academy, and now it's helping thousands of you who are listening to this podcast. So you know who you are. Thank you. If you know the experience that this man is talking about and that I felt and that so many other men feel also, let's break down what's happening, why it's happening, and what to do instead. First, let's talk about the question itself. When a man who's doing the work asks his wife, "How are you feeling?" it sounds like the right move. It sounds like he's opening the door, inviting her in, showing her that he cares about what she's going through. And sometimes that's exactly what it is. But a lot of the time, more than most men want to admit, the question isn't really a question. It's a check-in disguised as connection. What he actually wants to know is, have you noticed what I've been doing? Is it working? Are we getting better? Am I doing enough? He's not opening a door for her. He's handing her a report card and hoping she gives him a passing grade. That doesn't make him a bad husband. It makes him human. When you've been grinding through the hardest work of your life, owning what you did, changing the patterns that have been running for years, showing up differently every single day, you want to know it's working. You want some sign that the ground under your marriage is shifting. That makes sense. But from her side, the question doesn't feel like an invitation because she can feel the need underneath it. She knows that if she says, "Actually, I'm still hurting a lot," or "I haven't noticed much change yet," or "I don't know if I trust this," the conversation is about to go somewhere where neither of them wants to go. So she either tells you the safe version, things are fine, which keeps the peace but keeps the real conversation buried, or she tells you the truth and watches what happens to you. If there's a right answer you're hoping for when you ask that question, you're not asking for her, you're asking for you, and your wife can feel the difference. A question with a hidden agenda isn't connection, it's a setup. You're putting her in a position where the honest answer costs something. Her safety, your stability, or both. The answer isn't to stop asking. The answer is to get honest with yourself about why you're asking. Are you genuinely ready to hear whatever she says, the worst version of the truth, and stay present through it? Or are you asking because you need her to tell you it's working? If it's the second one, that's not a conversation you're starting. That's a performance review, and she shouldn't have to grade you to feel connected to you. So sometimes the question does have a hidden agenda, and sometimes you feel like you're ready to hear the answer. You really do want to connect with her. You do want to hear what she's going through. Let's say she answers. Let's say she tells you the truth, the real version, not the safe one. What happens next is where most men lose the moment. I've coached hundreds of men through this, and the pattern is almost always one of two responses. Not 10, not 5, 2. The first one is defend. She says something honest, like, "I don't feel safe with you," or "I don't know if I trust this," or "Things haven't really changed for me." And before she finishes, his guard goes up. His posture shifts. He stops listening, and he starts building a counter argument. It doesn't always look like yelling. Sometimes it's just a sharper tone or a quick correction, like "That's not what happened," or "I didn't mean it like that." Sometimes it's just the way his energy shifts in the room and she can feel the wall go up. What's happening underneath? Well, her truth hit something in him that feels like an attack. His body registered it as a threat to his identity, to his progress, to his sense of himself as someone who's trying, and the defense kicks in before he can think about it. From her side, she just told him something real and he argued with it. She shared her experience and he told her she was wrong. Whether he raised his voice or not, the message she received is the same. Your version of things doesn't count as much as mine. The second response is collapse. Same honest answer from her, but instead of pushing back, he folds. His shoulders drop, he goes quiet, his eyes hit the floor, and inside the shame spiral starts. I'm a terrible husband. I've ruined everything. Nothing I do is ever going to be enough. How long is this going to last? It looks different from defending. It feels different in his body, but from her side, the result is exactly the same. She was trying to tell him how she feels, and now she's managing his breakdown. She went from being the one who needed to be heard to being the one now doing the reassuring. The whole thing just becomes about him. Defend or collapse. Fight her truth or crumble under it. Most men have a default, one they reach for first, and a backup when the first one doesn't work. Some men do both in the same conversation. Push back, realize they're losing, then fold into guilt. What I need you to hear is that both responses take her out of the conversation. Both make it about you. One says, your experience is wrong. The other says, I can't handle your experience. Neither one says, I hear you. And she notices every time. And it's not because she's keeping score. It's because her body is keeping track of whether it's safe to be honest with you. Every time she opens up and the conversation lands on your defense or your shame instead of her pain, that data point gets filed. Not safe yet. That's what's being lost in these moments. Not just the conversation, her willingness to try the next one. Now, I want to name what's actually going on in those moments for you. Not just what you do, but what's going on inside your body. Because most men think the problem is that they said the wrong thing. They think if they just had better words, calmer words, the right response, the conversation would have gone differently. But the words aren't the problem. By the time you're trying to find the right words, your body has already decided that this conversation is a threat. There's a word for this, dysregulated. And I want to explain what it means because it matters for everything we're about to get into. Dysregulated means your body is in protection mode, fight, flight, or freeze. In relational life therapy, we call it fight, flight, or fix. Your heart rate starts climbing and you feel physical sensations in your body. Your chest tightening, your gut wrenching, your jaw clenching, your breathing goes shallow, and the part of your brain that can listen, empathize, and stay present goes offline. It gets overridden by the part that's trying to survive the moment. She says, I'm still hurting, and your body hears something completely different, a verdict, an attack, proof that nothing you're doing is working. That's what dysregulated looks like. And when you're in that state, it doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. You could say the perfect thing and she'd still feel the tension in the room. She'd still feel that you're not really there. Regulated, on the other hand, looks different. Regulated is when she says something she's upset about and you can actually hear it without it activating the story or belief that you're a failure, without your chest caving in, without needing to fix it or fight it or run from it. You hear her and you stay. Being regulated also changes how you share what you're feeling. When you're feeling something uncomfortable or going through something hard, or you have a request you need to make, you can say it cleanly without projecting your emotions onto her, without making her the problem for what you're going through. Regulated conversations feel like that. And a lot of men had never had one during a hard moment in their marriage. Not because they don't want to, because their body won't let them. But it gets bigger than just you. Two nervous systems in a room don't operate independently. They pick up on each other in real time. When you're dysregulated, body tense, tone tight, breathing short, her nervous system picks that up. It doesn't matter that you said, I want to hear you. Her body is reading your body, not your words. And what it's reading is not safe. Now both of you are activated. You've probably felt this. A conversation that started calm and within minutes everything shifted. The room got heavier, her arms crossed, your voice got tighter. Neither of you could name what went wrong. That's code dysregulation. One nervous system activated the other. And once you're both in protection mode, connection isn't possible. The opposite is true too. When you're grounded, when your body is calm, your breathing is steady, and you're genuinely present, her nervous system picks that up as well. That's co-regulation. It makes the room safer for both of you, not because of what you say, because of the state you're in when you say it. In the relational work I do, one of the most advanced practices I talk about is being able to co-regulate, to help regulate your partner when she's dysregulated, and for her to be able to help you regulate when you're dysregulated. That's a gift you get to give each other as you progress through this work. Now, we're not there yet in this episode, but that is what you're working toward. This is what readiness actually means. Not knowing the right thing to say, not having a script rehearse. It's whether your body will let you stay in the room, grounded enough, present enough when she tells you the hardest version of the truth. I'm hosting a free live Better Husband community call, and I want you there. It's on Wednesday, May 27th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Zoom, and you can register now at joinbetterhusband.com. This month, we're talking about relational leadership, what it actually looks like to stop reacting and start leading in your marriage, not from control, but from steadiness. And I'll be doing a live Q&A at the end of the call. So if you've been doing this work on your own and you're not exactly sure how to step into leading your relationship, how to bring a hard conversation, initiate repair, or move toward her when everything in you says to pull back, come ask me directly. Go to joinbetterhusband.com to save your seat or click the link at the bottom of the show notes. I'll see you on May 27th. Now back to the show. So if your body is still going into protection mode when you start the conversation, or even at the thought of having the conversation, what do? Well, you do the work that makes you ready. I think of this like relational recovery. If you're familiar with any kind of recovery work like 12-step programs, you know how it starts. You've probably seen it in a movie or heard it talked about. You walk into a meeting and you say, "Hello, my name is so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic." It starts with ownership, coming face to face with the reality of who you are, what you did, and how it affected the people you love. Just like other recovery work, relational recovery starts with the first step, and it's the one most men want to skip past because ownership doesn't feel like progress. It feels like standing still in the worst parts of your history, processing the guilt, the shame, the grief of realizing this is who I was, this is what I put her through, and that's not a conversation you have with her. That's work you do on your own or with a coach or with other men who understand what you're carrying. And here's a really important part that I want you to hear. In recovery work, making amends to the people you've harmed is the 9th step, not the 2nd, not the 3rd, the 9th. From step 1 to step 9, you are looking at the absolutely deepest parts of yourself to come face to face with who you are. When you're finally ready to ask her that question, you can see the truth in her pain. She can share with you what she's gone through and how she's feeling, and nothing she says to you will be new to you. You'll have seen it in yourself already. You'll be able to empathize with the pain it's caused her. Her words don't send you into a spiral. You can hear her and you can stay. That's the difference between a man who collapses when his wife tells him the truth and a man who can hear it, stay present, and say, "I know, and I'm sorry, and I'm committed to doing better." The idea of getting from step 1 to step 9 is exactly why, as part of Better Husband Academy, I created the Better Husband course. Now, this isn't a 12-step program. It's relational recovery work. It's built around the path of becoming a better husband. And the first half of the course is entirely your own personal work. It's ownership, nervous system regulation, emotional awareness. You do that work before you ever step into the relational repair. Because if you skip the personal work and go straight into the relational conversations, you end up exactly where we've been talking about this whole episode, trying to have a conversation your body isn't ready for. If after listening to all of this, you have a better understanding, not just why you might need to stop asking your wife how she's feeling, but also what's actually happening in your body during those conversations and what it looks like to get ready for them, let me lay out exactly what you can do this week. Just like every episode, here's your awareness, action steps, and accountability. First, to deepen your awareness of this topic, I want you to think about the conversation you've been wanting to have with your wife. If she answered you with the hardest version of the truth, the thing you're most afraid to hear, what would happen in your body right now? Would your chest tighten? Would your mind start building a defense? Would you feel the pull to shut down? That answer tells you exactly where you are. Now, here are your action steps. Here is what I want you to do this week. 1, Name the conversation. Write down the specific question you want to ask your wife. Then write down the answer you're most afraid to hear, the real one. If you can't write it down without your chest tightening or your mind racing to defend yourself, that's your answer. You're not ready yet, and knowing that is the first honest step. 2, this week, when you feel the urge to ask her how she feels about the marriage or the work you've been doing, don't. Instead, tell her one honest thing about your own experience, not a confession, not something you rehearsed, something real. Like, I've been thinking about how I used to react when you tried to talk to me, and I'm working on that now. That's it. You're sharing, not asking. 3, practice the regulated response before you need it. Pick one hard thing she said to you in the past, something that triggered you. Say it to yourself out loud. Notice what happens in your body. Practice staying with it instead of fixing it, defending against it, or collapsing under it. That's the rep. You're training your body to stay in the room. And 4, find the smaller version of the conversation, not the big emotional summit where everything comes out at once, the 5-minute version. One question you could ask and actually hold the answer to, something small enough that you'll do it this week. For accountability, if your marriage needs to have that conversation, and every marriage that's healing eventually does, but you don't feel ready for it yet, you don't have to figure out the readiness path alone. That's what we do inside Better Husband Academy. You join a community of men who are doing this same work. Live coaching calls every week, a private community, real support from guys who understand what you're going through, and you also get access to the Better Husband course, which includes the readiness path we talked about today. The first half of the course is entirely your own personal work, ownership, regulation, emotional awareness. Before you ever step into the relational conversation, that foundation has to come first. If this episode described where you are right now, come join us. Go to betterhusbandacademy.com. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. How your wife is feeling, what she's carrying, what she needs to say about you in this marriage, that has to be faced for your marriage to heal. But if you're not ready to really listen without spiraling, defending, or making it about you, you can't be the one to open that door yet. Your path right now is doing your own deep work, ownership, processing what you've done and how it affected her, building the ability to stay grounded when the hard truth comes so that when she does share it, you can actually hear it and help her process it too. The conversation will come, but first, you have to become the man who can be in it. I want to say thanks for being here and doing this work with me. You're listening to Better Husband. I'm Angelo Santiago, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, I have a quick request. If you've ever gotten any value from the show and you want the show to continue to grow, to access bigger and more knowledgeable guests, and to keep providing you with more ways that you can be a better husband in your marriage, simply leave a rating and a review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a few seconds, and those reviews go a long way in attracting more experts and bigger guests to the show. So if you're feeling up to it, as a favor to me, I'd love to see a rating and a review from you. Thank you so much for being a listener and all your support.